This actually is the toughest assignment of all. How to present to you in a few words tonight's senior candidate. Many of you know Bob Campbell, and in fact, part of knowing him is to feel a special friendship. Though you may not get together with him for years, you feel in an instant that the old bond is there and that you matter and form a part of the fabric of his life as he does yours. As I talked with Bob this morning, I kept sensing this very difficult to define quality in him. To be able to range far and wide, in fact, very far and very wide, and to always hold on to and cherish the contacts, the connections, and the lessons from diverse aspects of his life. Born in Boston in 1950 in a blighted neighborhood to working-class parents whose most realistic goal was to move up to a working-class lifestyle and help their children into a solid trade, he attended the Boston Public Schools. They decided he would attend the Boston Trade High School and train as an electrician. Doing sports on the side was thought to be a healthful diversion, but the focus would be on training for a sustainable career. Two events then occurred. Bob joined the YMCA at age 11 and enrolled in a judo class. This was 1961, and judo was still the best known of the martial arts in the United States. His study lasted all of 2 weeks. And it ended when Bob watched a demonstration of a different martial art and was instantly and absolutely mesmerized on the spot. He then began his study in George Mattson's beginner's classes, training under George, Calvin Chin, Bill Yee, and Fred Tom, who's Henry's younger brother. And this went on for his first several years. The second event was that his family realized their ambition to move out of the projects to a small suburban home. Problem was that for Bob to complete his education at Boston Trade School, he needed to remain a Boston resident. Well, Bob was a promising, talented young student, but more to the point, George recognized in him the early manifestations of character and integrity and offered to allow him to establish his official residency at the dojo. Quite a fateful decision for both. Bob rose through the ranks, grew to his current immense height, blossomed as a karateka, and assumed a personal, proprietary, caretaking role and sense of himself within the dojo and within the art. He earned his showdown in 1969, was becoming widely known as a tournament competitor, and began to make his living as a journeyman electrician by day and karate instructor by night. Through a series of coincidental, almost accidental connections that bring to mind the term synchronicity. And I say, hold on to this thought because it comes up again and again in this story. Bob was welcomed into the heretofore closed society of martial artists in Boston's Chinatown. This was due in no small part to the very positive reputation that George Mattson had established with the Chinese community as a teacher in the old tradition. Bob came to be trusted as no one had before him. Doors were open to him alone that remain open to this day. Recognizing and seizing opportunities would become a recurrent theme. Bob found that his Kung Fu studies neatly enhanced his Uechi Ryu. More than that, it was becoming clear that this was a uniquely talented young man. His knack for picking up the essence of his style was institutionalized when his Chinese teachers nicknamed him Stealing Eyes, the man who could watch a form once and appropriate its essence. A stint in the Coast Guard may have first propelled him into a larger world. His teaching and tournament competition spread from regional to national, his rank in karate increasing stepwise, and his study of the arts branching out to include archery, calligraphy, tea ceremony, iaido, dance, performing arts, And then, in another one of those fateful, synchronous events that would change the course of his life, David Finkelstein, a man who recognizes genius when he sees it, arranged a 16-country Asian tour for Bob with the assistance of the Ford Foundation and the Diplomatic Corps in 1977. Bob was 27 at the time, and those of us who knew him were aware of an emerging sense of destiny. He passed through Okinawa on that tour and moved Uechi and his family greatly by being the first foreigner to ask to be allowed to pay his respects at the grave of Kanbo Uechi. Many years later, when the large group visited, Uechi told that story that he held close to his heart, that Bob had asked. On his second day in Manila on that trip, Bob then finds himself in a casual and friendly conversation with a young man who turns out to be intrigued by his open and accepting manner and fascinated by his martial arts background. It would turn out that that young man was not used to being approached in such an open manner. He was the son of the head of state. More doors opened, and Bob finds himself within months establishing the first martial arts dojo at the Manila Polo Club. His students there were a highly privileged collection of international jet-setters and their children. And Bob instantly recognized the major pitfall in the lives of these highly entitled people. And so, in the manner of the finest Zen tradition, he insisted that all of his students would be treated equally. All would contribute to the upkeep of the dojo, and all would sweat. No maids would wipe their brows or fold their gi. So did they kick him out? Quite the contrary. Respect for his work and his character grew, and more introductions followed. Consulting opportunities in the Middle East, Europe, and Asia followed, and Bob's diverse training in martial arts as an electrician, and I have to say, as an emerging larger-than-life character, led to his invitation to develop personal security systems, bodyguard and armored limousine services, and so on for some of the world's rich and powerful. One business opportunity led him to Hong Kong in 1987, where he opened a martial arts dojo on the side. Now, can Bob remain on the side? Of course not. And so he's soon invited to teach martial arts to the Hong Kong Police Department. What's wrong with this picture? White boy from Dorchester teaching karate to the Chinese. Bob later became office manager for a large Hong Kong law practice in 1996, an opportunity which allows him continued travel throughout Asia. He allows him to develop real estate opportunities, and gave him a recent entree into Action Adventure magazine, National Geographic, and the Pan Asian Extreme Challenge. Bob told me that his latest venture thrills him greatly, and he sees his immediate future as further building bridges among the diverse cultures he encounters. Just imagine the bridges that can be built by a man who never forgets any connection, who quickly grasps the essence of an entity, whether it be a kata, a field of study, or a person. Bob has recently suffered several medical setbacks. His cervical spine and upper back were injured in a diving accident 2 years ago, and his doctors have told him that he must not practice the sharp muscular focus of his youth. This weekend, he injured his lower back and his elbow. By rights, he should not perform anything physical for us tonight. But this is Bob Campbell, and in discussing with George and Van, he has agreed to perform his Sanchin only. People make choices in life. Bob turned down some opportunities in order to follow others. How many of you know that once he turned down Hollywood offers in order to pursue his travel of teaching? That would have taken him down a very different road. Bob has chosen now to protect his health, and in so doing will continue to be, for us, for years to come, a living treasure. Bob Campbell.
Sanchin, Kata.